Hey everyone, welcome to the video. We're going over how to prepare for a soccer match. This is a very important topic because I found in my own life and in other players' lives, for example, that your preparation for a match can really make the difference between you having, good performances and you having average performances. Now, this is regardless of what skill level, what level of player you are. If you don't prepare properly for your match, the days leading up to it, all the way up to the hour before the game, you're not giving yourself the best opportunity to perform at a high level. And there can be huge differences between a player who has prepared for a match and a player who hasn't. And you can usually tell. So let's go over exactly what we're going to go over in this video. Now, first, before we move on, actually, make sure you get out a pen and paper. I would like you to take some notes. And guys, this is not for my benefit. I can't like jump through the screen and check all of you and be like, hey, Timmy, are you taking notes? Good. I can't do that. This is for your benefit. It doesn't hurt me or benefit me if you take notes or not. The only person who's going to benefit or not is you. So I suggest you take notes. And what I suggest you do is going through this video, after you finish this video and after you've taken the notes, make a checklist of things you need to be doing in order to prepare for a match. So every time you have a match, you can just look at your list and go, okay, what do I need to do? I need to make sure I do this, 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 and this. And if you do all those things, you will be properly prepared. Okay? Make sense? All right. Let's get right into it before I jump through your screen and make sure you're taking notes. Anyway, what we're going to be covering, the basics. This is going to be a very general video, but it's still going to be very important. We're going to be going over what you need to be doing before match as far as stretching, why you need to be getting touches on the ball. We're going to be going over why you need to be drinking plenty of fluids in general and especially before matches. We're going to be going over generally what you need to be eating, what you need to be eating hours before the match, what you need to be eating the day of the match and the days leading up to the match. And this is something you honestly need to just make a lifestyle shift with, but we'll touch on that in a moment. We're going to go over how you need to mentally prepare for matches, something I find incredibly important and can be one of the biggest differences between a player who plays well and a player who does not play well is how their mental preparation is. I'm going to go over what you need to be doing an hour before, day before, and all that. And next, why you need to have goals and kind of plans and objectives for the match as well so that you can track your progress. So let's get right into this. Because this will probably be, it is actually going to be a longer video if you haven't already been able to tell. But let's get straight into this. Remember to take notes as we're going along. So we're going to get up right into how you should be warming up right before the match, because this is the most common thing that's covered. It's kind of like, okay, it's an hour before the match and you're doing everything you need to do. How are we going to warm up, stretch, and all that? Now, you're probably going to do some kind of team warm up, but if you've been on teams like I've been on teams, even in college, there is a window of time where you're going to just be warming up yourself. So a lot of players during this window of time just go through the motions, and I recommend you do not do that. I think you should be very deliberate with how you warm up. So what basically warming up is doing, it's all in the name right there. We need to warm your body up. We need to warm your mind up. We need to get you ready so that when the whistle goes off, you are prepared to play at your highest capacity. So let's go over an hour before the match. You need to be doing what's called dynamic stretches. There are different kinds of stretches, and they usually are put into two categories, either dynamic stretches or static stretches. It's one or the other usually. A dynamic stretch is usually something that involves movement. So if you've ever done like side shuffles, if you've done like jogging, for example, is actually a dynamic stretch. By jogging, you're warming up your body and you're also stretching certain muscles as you extend your legs. That's a dynamic stretch technically. But I'm not just talking about that. You need to be doing stretches that involve movement. You can't just be sitting down and doing butterflies, because what happens is you don't want to be doing movements like that, because it's a different kind of stretch when you're actually moving than when you're just standing there and stretching a certain muscle. And this can actually lead to injury, believe it or not, if you go from static stretching and then you go right into a game and you start sprinting. You need to be doing the stretches that are going to prepare you for when you're in a game, sprinting, turning, kicking, and things like that. So you mainly want to be focusing on dynamic stretching. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole thing on dynamic stretching here because that could be a whole different video in itself. But look up dynamic stretching that you can do an hour before a match. So your team will probably go through this. You'll probably do side shuffles, and you'll probably, do open the gate and close the gate if you've done stuff like that. And those are some of my favorites, by the way. But make sure you have a routine of dynamic stretches. And what's really important is make sure you are aware of what dynamic stretches stretch different parts of your body. Because let's say it's 30 minutes before the match and you feel kind of tight in a certain area. Well, you're going to want to know how to stretch that out because everybody has a different body, essentially. So what you need to stretch out might be different than your teammate Sean or whatever, So if 30 minutes before the match, maybe your groin's a little tight, you need to know some dynamic groin stretches that you can be doing in order to loosen that up, right? After you've gone through all your team stretches. So that's the thing to keep in mind. Make sure you stick to dynamic stretches. Now, you can do a couple of static stretches if you really need to, like it's really tight, but I would honestly say avoid that and don't do that until after the game for your cool down and for your recovery. Don't do any static stretches until then. Next, and probably most importantly before the match, an hour or closer to the match, is get touches on the ball. This is something that when I would observe youth teams or even my own teammates on certain teams that always used to kill me, still does sometimes when I see it, is players not getting touches on the ball. The last thing you want to happen is for your first touch on the ball during the day or within the last hour to be in the match. You don't want that. Get comfortable on the ball before the game. Don't wait till your first touch in the game. What if your first touch is right in front of goal and you haven't gotten your touches in and you're not feeling confident on the ball and you miss? We don't want that kind of situation to happen. We want your first touch in the match to be really good because you were already getting touches on the ball before the match. So this can be just get a teammate who also wants to warm up properly and do some passing with them, do some skill moves with them. Don't tire yourself out. A warm-up isn't supposed to tire yourself out, but get a ton of touches on the ball. Get different touches. Use the inside, the outside. Do some passing drills. Do some passing and moving drills. Again, light stuff, nothing that's going to tire you out, but just things that are going to get you touches on the ball. Take a few shots on net. This is another very important one. Don't let your first shot of the day be in the match, because that usually doesn't work out well. Take a few shots on net. Just get in front of net and, put your laces through it. Maybe try a few finishes and do like 5 or 10 minutes of that. That's incredibly important as well. You don't want your first action of something to be in the match. Practice a few of your skill moves in your warm-up as well. Again, I'm going to reiterate for like the umpteenth time, don't tire yourself out. The point isn't to waste energy when doing this. The point is just to get warmed up. Not just warmed up in your body, but in your mind. And that's why we're taking the shots as well. That's why we're taking all this. We're trying to give you some confidence before going into the match. Okay? So that's a quick kind of general overview of what you should be doing just before the match. So an hour before, as far as like actual warming up of your body goes. Okay, next little tidbit, next little piece of advice is drink plenty of fluids. Now, this might seem like an obvious one, and this is something you've probably heard since you were a kid, probably since when you joined your first team or any athletic anything, is drink your fluids, drink your water, get your electrolytes and all that. But I forget this sometimes. Like, I'll be going to a match and I'll be like, I haven't drank any water today, and then I'll be chugging water, but it's a bit late for that now. Throughout the day and throughout the days leading up to when you are going to play, make sure you're drinking plenty of water. I mean, a ton of water. Drink a glass of water every hour or a bottle of water every hour. You may think that's excessive, but it's actually not. The only reason it seems excessive is because you think that you don't have to drink that much. You're not used to it. But in all honesty, if you want to keep your body hydrated, and especially if you're an athlete, which means you need to keep your body even more hydrated because you're expending more energy, you're sweating more, which is releasing more of the water you've been taking in. If you want to make sure you're not doing, that you're properly hydrated, you need to be drinking more water. And again, this is something that's so simple, but like I always say, it's the simple stuff that's really going to help elevate your game and get you better. So drink fluids. And this is something you guys should be doing all the time. All the time. This shouldn't be just like, oh, it's 2 days towards my game, until my game, I better start drinking some water consistently. If you want to be healthy in general and be a good player in general, and this isn't going to make or break it, but I'm just saying, we want to give ourselves every little advantage we can. Drink a glass of water or have a bottle of water every hour. Just start getting in the habit of that, because you really want to make sure you're hydrated and prepared at all times. And I'm someone who has muscle cramps a lot. So this is something I really had to get good at to prevent stuff like that happening. So really make sure you're drinking plenty of water. And whenever you get a chance to in the game, do it as well. If there's an injury break, get to the sideline and take a few sips of water. Keep hydrating yourself, because you'll be surprised how much this will affect you if you're not doing this, okay? So just a little reminder to make sure you're getting plenty of fluids generally, but especially leading up to your matches, okay? Next is eat well. Hours before your game, the day of your game, and obviously leading up to your game. Now this, again, I'm not going to really go too deep into this topic because this could be a whole different video in itself. And, you know, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not the person you should be taking your eating habits or eating advice habits from. Now, I know a few things just from my own experimentation and research, but again, I'm not a nutritionist. This is stuff that you should be doing yourself. And also everyone's different. Everybody's body is different. You know, certain people are allergic to certain things. Certain people react better to certain diets and all that. Just generally, you know, I like to eat 5 to 6 small meals a day. I like to eat anywhere between 2 to 3 hours before a match. Not a huge meal before a match, by the way. I don't eat a huge meal before a match. I just eat a pretty small-ish meal 2 to 3 hours before a match. I have my bigger meal usually a little earlier in the day, okay? So, in general, though, you need to be eating healthy. I mean, I'm not going to really get into it too much more than that because, again, this could go on for hours if I'm really going to dive deep into what I believe is healthy and what isn't. But you need to do your own research on this. If you haven't, in fact, this is a good point. If you haven't already done research discovering what is healthy or not, you need to do that. Just for general purposes, because it's going to be hard, again, to be a top-level athlete or soccer player like I'm assuming you want to be if you're not eating well. So eat healthy. If you want to, follow the 80-20 rule. And I'm not talking about the Pareto principle. I'm talking about eat clean 80% of the time, and then you can leave the other 20% of the time for fun stuff like burgers and whatever else. Another thing I'll say is avoid candy or avoid sugar if you can. Again, 80-20. If you want to have like a candy bar every now and then, go for it. You know, live your life. You know, it's not gonna make a huge difference. But your diet in general will make a huge difference. I'll tell you, when I decided or finally got my diet under control and started to commit to eat healthy, it changed my game completely. I had more energy. I didn't get hurt as much. I didn't cramp up as much. It changed it. It changed it. I could run longer, not faster, but longer than I could before without getting winded, without getting tired. So in general, just get your eating under control. And start eating healthy. If you're eating healthy, this is not going to be that big of an issue for you. But if you're not, and you find yourself getting tired, but you're working out, but you're still getting tired in your matches and all this, it's probably to do with your diet. Like you need the carbohydrates, you need the protein, you need the vitamins, you need all of this stuff that's going to energize your body, that's going to give you the fuel you need. I mean, that's how you have to think of it. What you put into your body is like putting fuel into a car. If you don't give yourself the right fuel, it's like if you're eating junk, you're trying to put diesel into a car that doesn't run off diesel. Like your body can't function properly or well when you're putting junk into it. It's like trying to do that. It's like if you just have a regular car, gas-powered car, and you go up and try and put diesel in it, it's not going to work, right? It's not. You can't do that. But if you put the regular stuff, you put the good stuff in there, right? It purrs. It runs well. I mean, many of you might not have cars, so this might be a terrible analogy. But the point is, what you put into your body is your fuel. If you give yourself shitty fuel, you will have a shitty performance. If you give yourself the right fuel, you're giving yourself the opportunity to have a good performance. If you're getting your vegetables in, which is going to provide a lot of the vitamins and minerals that you need. If you get the carbohydrates in, that's going to provide a lot of the energy. You get the protein in. You get all this good stuff in and you do it well and you get a good schedule going, you will be more than ready for your matches. I think this is one of the most important components. So remember, get it right not only the day of, not only hours before the match, but get your diet under control in general. Okay, that's all I'm going to say on it for now because I don't want to because this video is already 15 minutes long and this could be a topic I go on forever. And I may make a video on this in the future that's a lot more detailed. But in all honesty, there's so much information on this out there already that the only reason you don't know about it right now is because you haven't been committed to learning about it. If you want to learn about what you need to be eating, do your research. This is not something I can explain to you in 5 minutes. This is not something anyone can explain to you in 5 minutes. This is something that will actually take a little bit of research and experimentation on your own. So I'm going to leave it there. All right, so next, You want to go into games having your mentality prepared. You want to have mental preparation. I think this is another really important one because, like in many videos I go over, the mental side of the game is often neglected by players to the point where it's hurting them. You know, the number one thing I get asked by players, or the number one complaint I get from players about why they're not doing well, is their confidence. It's the number one thing. The number one thing that when I get a comment with a player who needs help, when I get an Instagram message, when I get a Snapchat, the number one thing players send me is I'm having trouble with my confidence. That might not be exactly what they say, but they'll say something that basically means I'm having trouble with my confidence. I don't believe in myself. I don't have good mental attributes, you know, whatever it may be. Or it'll be like, I'm great in practices. I know I'm a good player and I can't play matches and it's frustrating. Well, I get it. Okay. And one of the reasons is because you're not mentally preparing. And I get that the mental side is very important. And look, the good news for you is just like the physical side, the mental side can be improved upon. For any of you who are struggling with anything mental, here's what I suggest. I have 2 videos out right now that go over confidence. We're going to do more in this series as well. Now, what really bugs me about this is when I do videos on confidence, they get almost no views. They do get views, but compared to like, oh, here's a skill move for you. Those videos do much better than confidence videos. Look, if you guys actually want to get better at confidence, you have to put in the work. Like any other skill, any other thing you're doing, you have to put in the work. You can't just say, I want to be confident, but I don't want to study how to get good at it, and I don't want to put those practices into motion. Well, then I can't help you. But the videos are there. If you want them, if you actually want to get better, go watch them, all right? But for this, we're talking about mental preparation. One of the best things I think to mentally prepare for a match is using a visualization technique. And not only do you need to be doing this before your match, I think you should be doing this in the days leading up to your match. So there's many other ways you can mentally prepare. Like you should, you know, I mean, confidence is a big one, but again, I'm giving you those videos to help you. Guys, seriously, don't neglect your kids. It's one of the most important subjects in all anything, sports, success, soccer, whatever, schooling, you know, like you need the confidence or you're never going to really achieve much. So get that under control, learn it. It can be learned and it may not be the most smooth path, but it can be learned. You know, I still have issues with it, but I recognize that I can always get better at it. And I don't allow myself to be like, well, I'm never going to have it. No, I say, okay, let's just go back. How do we work on this? Okay. So mentally prepare. Visualization. I'm going to put the visualization video in the description again. I've given this to you guys before. I'm going to do it again. What I suggest you do is a few hours before the match, you use this visualization technique that I'm going to link down in the description. It's in the description. It's in the description. I might even put it in the comments, but it's there. It's a 3-minute video. I think you have time to watch it. And if you really want to be mentally prepared for a match, I can't think of a better way. What it's going to do is allow you to visualize yourself playing amazingly. It's going to basically put you in the right frame of mind. And what I recommend you do is you do this an hour or 2 before match, but that you also do it in the days leading up to a match. So what you need to do is whoever you're playing, whatever team you're playing, you need to visualize yourself playing against them, right? You need to visualize the field you're going to be playing them at. So if you don't have a picture of it, just look it up. Okay? Get as detailed as you can. And that video will explain it a little more. But do this visualization technique. Now, there are other ways to mentally prepare. Again, in general, like being confident, developing your confidence, you know, having good soccer affirmations that will, you know, help you with your confidence, having the right belief systems in place. But again, this would take way too long to go over in just this video since we're trying to keep it 20 minutes about. Which it looks like we're about to go over. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you do want to help yourself mentally prepare before a match, take a look at the visualization technique and do it often, especially before the match, hours before. Okay. Last thing we're going over is goals and plans and how to, you know, have objectives going into a match. Now, this is something I get a bit hot and cold with because I don't want you to have a rigid objective where it's like, oh, I can't do this and this. Like in a match, you can't really be thinking too much. You can't be like, I'm going to pass 20 good passes, blah, blah, blah. Because there'll be situations where then you're looking to pass it when you shouldn't be, or, you try and become too rigid. And you don't want that. So like what I usually do for objectives is I make them objectives within my control. So let me explain. I don't have an outcome dependence. So my objectives, I might have an objective like score a certain amount of goals, but those aren't my main objectives because scoring 3 goals is sometimes outside of my control. Now, I can do things in order to make it more likely, and that's what I'm about to talk to you about. But it's, making a goal like I'm going to score 3 goals. Well, that's, even the best players in the world, when they make those objectives, can't always hit them. It's an outcome dependent type of goal. The goals you can control, though, are things like I'm going to work incredibly hard in this match. Every time my opponent has the ball, I'm going to hassle them. I'm going to run at them. Every single time I can make a forward dangerous run, I'm going to do it. These are the kind of objectives you want because you are in full control of doing those objectives. See, you could do things like I'm going to do 5 step overs, but that's a silly thing to do because then you'll be doing step overs in situations that don't call for step overs. That's the thing about soccer. You can't just put it in a compact thing rigidly and be like, I'm going to do this here and this there. Now, again, because you'll be acting on instincts. Now, there are certain things you could be like, there's certain situations where there are only a certain number of things you can do. But I think one of the beautiful things about soccer is the amount of unpredictability in the game. As in, there's no it's not like in American football where there's a set play and set routes. Now, you do have certain runs that you can make, but it's up to the player in real time what decision they're going to make. So what I want you to do when you go into matches, I want you to make goals and plans, but I want you to make them to things that you can work on, and you have full control over. So for example, working hard in a match is something you have complete control over. So let's say you've noticed that in matches you're getting a little lazy or you give up too often. This is something you can consciously take control of. You go, okay, in my next match, here's my goal. I'm going to work incredibly hard and never give up, and I'll allow myself to give up only if a second later I realize I'm giving up and then I get right back into it. And this is a goal I've actually set for myself before. I've had goals like, okay, I'm going to harass the defenders. I'm going to keep moving. I'm never going to stand still. I'm going to harass the defense when they have the ball. I'm going to keep running. And I'm going to, and I compare it to Suarez. I tell myself, I'm going to play like Suarez does. I'm going to defend from the front. And I'm going to consistently make runs. You can make goals like this. And again, this can be not just for an attacking player. This can be for a defensive player. You can be like, I'm going to try as often as I can to be consciously aware of my positional sense, because that's something you have control over, right? If you can't be like, my goal is to have a clean sheet. Now you can make that goal, but understand that's an outcome dependent goal because there's sometimes nothing you can do about it. Yes, having that goal can be good only if it motivates you to do better towards not having that happen, but it can also be detrimental if you're not an incredibly confident player, because then if you get scored on, you'll be in the match and go, oh, I just failed my goal, and that may cause you to spiral. So set goals like that. I'm going to work hard. Set goals like if you're an attacker, maybe your goal is I'm going to make as many dangerous runs as I can, or I'm going to harass the defense. I'm going to defend from the front. If you're a defender, you can think of I'm going to consciously make sure I'm in position at all times. You could maybe make one like I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to make sure my defense knows where they need to be at all times. Goals like this, because those are goals you are in complete control of. So I hope that makes sense. But the thing about setting these goals and plans is you want to be doing that because after the match, you're then going to go back and go, did I achieve my objective? So I go back, say after a match, and let's say I worked hard and I defended from the front. I go, so how did this match go? I got a goal. It went well. I got an assist, blah, blah, blah. I played like this. Then I'll go to my objective and go, so did I achieve my objective? Did I work hard from the front? Did I, so like if I'm working on something like something I want to improve in my game is my work ethic, I'll set goals like this and go, did I achieve it? And I'll go, yes, I did. Maybe you can improve this area. Where can I improve? What did I do well? What didn't work well? And all this. And then I set an objective for the next game. Okay, so I did this well, but I forgot to do this. So for the next game, let's set an objective to do this. Okay, if that makes sense. And through doing this, what this does is you're analyzing your game and you're setting clear objectives for yourself to try and hit. And then each time you can keep getting better and better and better. You can keep setting harder and more challenging objectives. Again, not with an outcome dependence. My objective is never I never have a serious objective of scoring 3 goals. Of course I want to, and of course I'll visualize myself scoring 3 or 4 goals a game, and of course maybe I'll even set a thing for that, but it's never like my main thing, okay? My main thing is always things that are within my control, okay? That are like fully in my control. So those are the kind of goals you want to make, but you always want to have some kind of objective like that because it'll help you remember it. Writing this down and telling yourself this is my objective will actually help you remember it in game because you'll be thinking, oh, every game you'll be like, oh, what was my objective for this game? Oh yeah, it's work hard and harry the defense. Then you'll be in the game and you won't be doing it and you'll be like, oh, crap, and you'll go and do it and you'll remember more. So you want to be doing that as well. All right, guys, so that's going to be it. If you do all of this stuff in preparation for a match, I have no doubt in my mind that you will start playing better. Preparation is key. I think it's Benjamin Franklin who said, if you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And what that means is if you don't prepare, you're going to fail. You're not going to do as well as you would do if you do prepare. So be someone who prepares properly. Don't be someone who goes through the motions. Very quickly, again, be someone who does dynamic stretches, gets touches on the ball. Make sure you're drinking plenty of fluids. You're eating well hours before the match, the day of the match, leading up to the match. In general, you should be eating well. Make sure you do your mental preparations. I gave you the visualization technique that's in the description. And make sure you have goals and plans or objectives going into matches that are within your control. Now, if you do all of these things, and you start doing them consistently and you start getting good at doing these things, you're going to see results, guys. I promise you that. All right, guys, so I'm pleased that you listen to this video. If you're listening to me right now and you're at the end, give yourself a pat on the back because I always enjoy the players who make it all the way to the end of a video. That shows that you're committed. And to be quite honest, most players will click out of this video after about 3 to 4 minutes. And they're the same players who go down below and comment, great video, when the video's only been up for 3 minutes. And it's been impossible for them to have seen the whole video. They only want people to think they've watched it all the way through. They haven't, but you have. And I want you to recognize that that's a really good thing, that you are committed to learning. You are committed to actually getting better. And you're the kind of player I like. You're the kind of player that if I was working with you one-on-one, I would be raving about you and be like, this guy's so good. He wants to learn. He's committed. You know, he puts in the effort and time. So you should be happy about that. And I want to, honor you and applaud you for that. So thank you. If you did make it to the end, let me know in the comments. We used to do a thing actually, hashtag. So do hashtag prepare if you made it to the end of the comments. If you in the comment section put hashtag prepare, it lets me know and everyone else who has made it to this point that you finished this whole video, okay? Also, make sure you like and share this video. That helps spread it around and get more players involved when we're always trying to expand this community of players who are always looking to learn and get better in the right way too, not just in the flash way, in the effectiveness way. Okay, so thanks again, guys. Remember, as always, come back tomorrow at 5 p.m. for a brand new video. And make sure, again, if you're new, to subscribe. If you're new and you watch this all the way to the end, again, I applaud you because you're not even subscribed and you decide to listen all the way to the end, which to me is really great. So please consider subscribing because we release a video every single day. All right, guys, as usual, I'll put 2 videos on the screen that you can check out. Make sure you check out those videos I linked in the description, especially if you want the visualization technique or you need work on your confidence. And again, with confidence, guys, do not overlook this area. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Remember, hashtag prepare if you watched all the way. And I'll see you in the next video.